Hello, I'm meteorologist Rob Carlmark in Northern California with day number 2 of our heat wave. Now, this is a pretty big deal around here locally and in other areas. Everyone's been talking about it. And I think probably what's most notable about this is that it's the first big one of the season. Now, getting to 101 degrees like we did yesterday on Tuesday in the Sacramento area honestly happens all of the time. In fact, our average for the first triple-digit day of the year is right around June 5th. So this is pretty much on brand. And as you can see for records, we get much hotter than this. This really is a question of how quickly we got to this number, and then also how it affects people when it's the first time of the season. Also, this is 3 days in a row that we're talking about. So this does a little bit more in how it affects people and also what time of year. Hey, it's 101 degrees. We should go cool off in the river. Nope. The rivers around here locally are recent snowmelt, and they're in the 50 to 60 degree range for water temperatures, which is way too cold. That's basically the temperature of the ocean, which is very cold. So let's give you some context about what's going on here. Typically, we're in the 80s, and again, our first triple-digit day of the year. Now, these are forecast highs for Wednesday, and let it be said that we've got a bunch of different moving parts. What will grab the attention and all the headlines are the hottest spots in the valley. That's going to be, Oroville, Ione. Some of these spots are going to be well over 100 degrees, easily the hottest day of the year so far. But also there's a big thing happening in some of the foothill spots. Arnold is a very small community. It's 4,000 feet up and it's 90 degrees. Now, once you start to get up in elevation, some folks simply just don't have air conditioning. So it's not simply a question of, okay, let me just turn it on and then that's it. Heat risk averted. That's not really the case. And certainly for places like Truckee, South Lake Tahoe, again, many homes, businesses may not have air conditioning, and that's not that big of a deal when it's 86 degrees, but sometimes the heat lingers into the overnight hours, and that's where we can run into somewhat of a risk. Now, again, we've got the Bay Area, which is doing okay out of this. They have what we call a heat advisory. So for some spots away from the water's edge, it does start to get hot during the day and warm overnight. And for all the valley spots, this is again a situation where you need two things to get a real heat wave. What you need is hot temperatures, obviously, well over 100 degrees, but you also need warm overnight temperatures, and that's really the hallmark of a heat wave. Basically, it gets hot during the day, and it takes a really long time to cool down overnight, and that's where a lot of the health issues tend to pop up. Also for unexpected things. Let's say you're in a community like Yuba City, right? And you're going to hit highs right around 105 today. But then if your AC breaks or you lose power and all this, because this stuff does happen during heat waves, well, now in your home or apartment or wherever you live, it's just not cooling down overnight. It's in the 80s all night long. And that's where people that don't have the ability to get to a cooler place or they're at risk health-wise, that's usually where you can run into problems. So what's going on with this map? You may not have seen this before, and this is being issued by the National Weather Service, but they're really trying to nail down areas with more details about who's really at risk here during this heat wave, because you'll see the big maps, but this is much more specific. Notice what's missing right here, or at least one level down. In and around the Sacramento area, that's open to what we call the Delta breeze, which is this late in the day onshore wind. They're actually going to be able to hold off some of the really warm overnight temperatures because of this cooling breeze. If you're outside of that or up in elevation, you're still going to be in the major risk where if you do not have adequate cooling or hydration, you could get into trouble health-wise. Of course, closer to the coast or higher up in elevation, you're going to be in better shape. Something positive about this, green means good. That means our air quality is in relatively good shape. There were some grass fires on Tuesday related to the stronger winds. Those have basically been snuffed out. I'm not seeing any lingering air quality issues. As far as some of the wind from earlier this morning, you could see there was a little bit of wind, and the temperatures were already well into the 80s right around 10 o'clock in the morning. So this tells you that we warm up early, it's going to be easily a hot day, and now we just wait for things like the Delta breeze. This is a very localized thing that happens because we've got the Pacific Ocean, which water temperature is 56 degrees. You get wind blowing just above that. You're essentially bringing in ocean-cooled air, and it can squeeze through a gap that you don't see here because this is a 2D map versus 3, and it can get into some of these areas. So we call this the Delta breeze because this region of California is called the Delta. Anyway, going forward, this is going to be some nice localized cooling all related to the wind. We do see 2 more days of this. This is excessive heat. Highs basically 100 or hotter for almost all valley spots for Wednesday and also for Thursday. And remember, for day 2 of this first heat wave, we have warmer mornings. We're going to have hotter temperatures, all eyes on the Delta breeze trying to cool us off. Very close to records here for many locations. Stockton and Modesto are going to be really close. I don't think Sacramento quite gets there because the record locally is 108 degrees on this day. And again, we're not going to get there, but easily the hottest day of the year. 100 still hanging on to excessive heat for one more day on Thursday. Then we're going to see some nice cooling down into the 90s. But are we done with triple digits? Nope, not yet. In fact, we're going to have a couple more very close to that on Monday and Tuesday of next week.